Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome. Just forewarning, I have about as much energy as the big guy tonight, so yep. Hope everybody's doing well on this lovely Thursday evening. And let's say hello and we'll get right into it. Kind of like and heavy both on the news front today. Interesting. We'll talk about it. What's up, Digger? Linda, hello. Bad Dazza, hello. Muffin Rando, how you doing, buddy? Jason J, hello. Alex, hello. Hey, HT. Hey, Linda. What's up, Comer? Not yet. But what's up, amazing? All right. And there's some watching over on the Rumbles. My debate coverage last night got 17,000 views on Rumble, which is fucking insane. But it was awesome. It was a good night. So yeah, let's get started right into it. Why don't we, shall we, says and ma'ams? Today's December 7th. December 7th. Historical photos show December 7th, 1941 attack in Hawaii. Today's the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, for those who didn't know. So on December 7th, 1941, a surprise attack at the Pearl Harbor Naval Base in Hawaii would officially begin the United States' involvement in World War II. And we should get into World War III here pretty soon. Thank you. That day, which President Franklin Roosevelt would notably call a date which will live in infamy, is now recognized each year as the National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. According to the National Park Service, 2,403 service members and civilians were killed, and another 1,178 people were injured in the attack. Two other U.S. Navy battleships, the USS Arizona and USS Utah, were also permanently sunk, and 188 aircraft were destroyed. Commemorations held every year in Hawaii and across the country to mark the day, and American flags will be flown at half staff. So today is the remembrance of Pearl Harbor. We'll listen to this short video.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
And that is what, no, not you, Otter. That's what brought us into the war. So we're going to look at some of these photos that USA Today put up. So, Ford Island Naval Air Station as they watched USS Shaw explode. Here is USS Arizona going down. And if you've seen the white monument that's out there, that symbolizes the USS Arizona. So, Sea Otter. But what's up, Neil? Orphan Sea. Fuck it. We'll watch it. I don't really give a shit tonight.
So So this pup was actually seen out in a remote area of Alaska, didn't see any mother in sight, and they actually saw a male sea otter messing with it a little bit, bringing it underwater a little bit. So they knew time was of the essence to try to be able to save this little guy.
It's in Chicago. It's going to get shot.
We have a team of staff that are helping round the clock. Caring for a little otter pup is just like caring for an infant. So he gets fed every few hours. We're, in essence, playing the role of the mother. We're helping to feed it. We are also grooming it regularly to help it get that nice, full, fluffy coat. He gets some formula. So we have some puppy, actually, formula that we blend with electrolytes, and then also some clam. He also is eating solid food, but they're very, very tiny pieces. So this is some surf clam. He has several milestones he needs to still mate. He needs to not be drinking a bottle anymore, get a little bit more bigger in size, also eating more diet, so those sort of things before he's ready to meet the other otters.
That's a cute ass otter. Real talk. Back to the devastation that happened on that day that will live in infamy. Japanese torpedo bomber attacks Pearl Harbor. USS West Virginia. U.S. Pacific Fleet burns at its home base in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, after 360 Japanese warplanes made a massive surprise attack. There's the USS Arizona going down. Japanese attack. USS West Virginia, USS Tennessee, and the USS Arizona. So, West Virginia, Tennessee, Arizona. Hit by bombs during the Japanese attack. USS California burning. Japs attack U.S. So they wanted to get us into that war, so they did their damn near best, and it worked. We got into World War II, saved Britain's ass, and went on with life. So remember all those who died in it, and just remember a very historic day in our nation's history. Moving on to current news. Silly Connect question. I heard that Hawaii was much like Israel and they knew it was coming and let it happen to our fight. There's, of course, it's always going to be classed as conspiracy. But there's some significant information to prove that may indeed be true. I personally believe that it's probably more true than not true. It seemed like the United States was all too excited to get into the war, and conventional thought would assume that we probably knew that something was going on like that. We were watching it very heavily. I think there was some indication that the Japanese actually even told us that was going to happen, if I remember correctly. But of course, that's all conspiracy theory still. So it's one of those things where make up your own mind, because I'm not entirely sure. But my 51%, my leaning vote would be absolutely 100% knew that was coming. And not to say that we intentionally did it, but I don't think we did a whole hell of a lot to stop it either. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Exactly. And yes, please. Pretty much. Yeah, there were Yeah. Well, they did get lots of warning, but it got lost. The other thing is and it may have already happened. There's a lot going on, and we'll cover why, Linda. There was a lot going on with the movement of the ships at the time. It almost was like they moved the ships in to make them easier to attack, even though we knew things were getting dicey. But again, this is all conspiracy. Maybe at some point I could do a show on it, debunking or proving the conspiracy to be true, because it's interesting, and obviously it's a huge historical milestone for the United States. But maybe at some point, I'm sure. Yeah, I'll have to look. That's true. That's true. But moving on, the U.S. Navy has ordered grounding of all Osprey aircraft after 8 service members died in a crash off from Japan. This is an odd thing. We heard some pushback from the Japanese government about using them, and then all of a sudden, we also grounded all these aircraft. There were problems with Ospreys in the beginning, and then once they got everything ironed out, it seemed like they were pretty reliable aircraft. And now that's not the case any longer. So, I don't know exactly what transpired or what the deal was behind that, but I know there was some consternation about that kind of thing at some point. And this seems to be dictated by the Japanese government. So, so that's interesting. Moving right along. I thought this was a funny clip by Gates. I don't know. I'm starting to like him a little bit more. So we'll watch this quick.
Mr. Speaker, whatever Mr. Santos did with Botox or OnlyFans is far less concerning to me than the indictment against Senator Menendez, who's holding gold bars inscribed with Arabic on them from Egypt while he is still getting classified briefings today. But he's not getting thrown out of the Senate. He's getting classified briefings under indictment for bribery. But what? Because Santos was buying Botox and OnlyFans, we got to throw him out? Mr. Speaker.
So this is an interesting thing. So Congressman McCarthy has stepped down. There was another congressman that stepped down. And obviously they got rid of Santos. The GOP only had a 4-seat majority in Congress. That has shrunk to 1 at this point. So we have the slimmest of majorities after the first of the year, after McCarthy steps away. It's almost like they're doing it by design. But again, that would be conspiracy. We don't do that. We don't do that here, ladies and gentlemen. There's a whole thing from Menendez where allegedly they were obtained in a documented robbery. So that situation is getting very interesting. Keep my eye on it, and once there's a good amount of information, I'll speak on it. But so moving right along to Potato Joe, he got pissed off because people asked him about his son and his business dealings, and we can't hold Joe accountable, so he just stormed off stage. Oh, hell no. Then the government will penetrate your thoughts. So, watch and enjoy.
There's polling by the Associated Press that shows that almost 70% of Americans, including 40% of Democrats, believe that you acted either illegally or unethically in regards to your family's business interests. Can you explain to the Americans to Americans amid this impeachment inquiry why you interacted with so many of your son and brother's foreign business associates?
I'm not going to comment on that. I did not, and it's just a bunch of lies.
You didn't interact with many of their business associates?
I did not. There's lies.
There's polling by the Associated.
Yeah, he either got lost again or he told them to go fuck themselves. I don't know which one it was, but sometime, yeah. I mean, I'm starting to like some of the things that he's doing. I still don't know enough about him, and I don't trust any politician, but he's starting to navigate the correct direction on the path that would like him. But exactly. So moving to another Biden news story. I have every intention. I don't think it's going to be tonight because there's another thing I want to watch. But Alex Jones just did an interview with Tucker Carlson. So this is supposedly one of the excerpts about Joe Biden walking around naked at the White House. Just picture that. I want you guys to just close your eyes and imagine Joe Biden naked walking around the White House. All right, now back to reality. Don't get too stuck in it. So we'll listen to what Alex has to say.
You see the system, the media going after Biden, and he deserves it, but they were covering it up until now. Now they're covering the laptop. Now they're covering attack on the dog. Now they're covering, all of his senility, all the corruption, the Chinese spies.
Attacking a dog. What a pig he is. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I was told that by Secret Service and by people that, let's just say, work with them. And I'm going to leave it at that. But I actually have a contact for you. I'd like to be able to hear it from them. But when this is over, I'll let you actually hear it from yourself. I think they'll tell you off record. I think they're willing to talk to you. But yeah, he is completely out of his mind. He wanders around for the entire 2.5 years. It's getting worse. Naked in the White House. In the middle of the night, doesn't know who he is. They have to give him a bunch of drugs, a bunch of amphetamines in the morning. Then they've got to drug him at night. Sometimes he'll like be out for the morning for a while, and then comes back out at night for a ball. That's when there's a real problem.
He is on drugs. I have established that. I know someone who witnessed it. I'm not guessing at this. I know someone personally who witnessed him taking amphetamines. And this was during the 2020 election.
So how's this going to? That's huge. I know you don't play games. You've been
no, I don't play games with this.
So I think that would be a really interesting video to watch, and maybe I'll try and get to it at some point in the near future. It was just released tonight, so I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. So interesting interview. I will certainly cover it because I want to, because I think it's hella interesting. But yeah. And then to everybody's favorite diversity hire, Karine Jean-Pierre. It's stunning that Republicans are demanding a secure border. History will remember them harshly. So she's calling us racist because we want a border.
I mean, we've been very, very clear about the supplemental and how important it is. As you've seen, the OMB director has been pretty out there on the different networks making the case. And one of the things that she has said is that it's stunning. It's stunning that we've gotten to this point, right? It's stunning that we have gotten to this point, and that Republicans in Congress willing to give Putin a gift, the greatest gift that Putin could hope for. That's what we're seeing. And so they are playing chicken with our national security. That's what we're seeing here. And history will remember them harshly. I mean, we've been very.
So you're a racist because you want a secure border. And that situation is getting out of hand. Jason brought it up. I couldn't find an actual news article, something that's mainstream. I like to have something documented mainstream, but there is some speculation that there is a militia group, there's private American citizens that are going to secure the border because Joe won't. I think people have had enough. And of course, we do not and never would encourage vigilante justice. But at some point, this shit's got to stop too. So good on them. They'll probably get arrested by the FBI. Let's be serious. But good on them for protecting and defending our country. So, I mean, we don't condone it, but if it's going to happen, we might as well revel in it, right? At least that's going to be my tact for this current one. So hang on, I wanted to see where I'm going next. Speaking on Joe's corruption, we'll kind of bounce back to this one real quick. So this is allegedly Fani Willis, the prosecutor in the Donald Trump case, or I think this is the Georgia case, but I'm not 100% sure. I think she's the Georgia one. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the Georgia one. Met on the tarmac with the stunning, brave diversity hire that is Karine Jean-Pierre. So they're calling it the Bill Clinton Loretta Lynch moment, because it's very similar. Some shady dealings regarding some political corruption on a tarmac of an airplane that was unscheduled. And I mean, if you're flying to meet with somebody in a clandestine way, it's probably going to be shady. Like, you probably shouldn't do that if you're on the up and up. But as we know, this whole administration is crooked as hell, and we're probably not going to get any answers for this, just like we didn't get any answers for the Lynch and Clinton meeting. At some point, they have to be held accountable. But anyways, we'll play the video. So there's not much to the video. It's really hard to make out any of these individuals. Enhance. Oh, shit. Some guy playing sex? Digger. Yeah, I know. It's not terribly clear. Of course, they were talking about her grandkids that she doesn't have because she's a lesbian. So, I mean, there's not much to it. What's up, Waxing? Run it through the moon AI thing. Shut up, Comer. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell anything out of it. It's obviously a security camera, but it is allegedly Karine Jean-Pierre meeting with Fani Willis, the prosecutor in the Trump case. Donald Trump hit back pretty hard on the whole thing. And we'll watch that next. See, I feel like this is just rerunning, but maybe it's not. I don't. I'm intrigued because I'd love to be able to point somebody out here, but I can't. The quality is not good at all. 2023, and we can't even see a video at an airport. For fuck's sake. Yeah, it is repeating. Okay. So here is Trump coming out of the courthouse earlier on his New York City fraud trial. And he just kind of hits everybody. I think it's a good video. So we'll watch this real quick. I still think it's people trying to call for Farney instead of Fanny. I mean, her name is Fanny. That's bad enough, in my opinion. But, you know. So anyways, we'll get to this video.
Some people right under the Attorney General, put him into the District Attorney's office, also put a man into the State Attorney General's office, Letitia James' office. Happened to be the same man. This is coming right from the White House. This is a disgraceful situation. The country's never seen anything like it. But this expert witness, highly respected by everybody, with a resume that few people have ever seen before, said there was no fraud, there was no accounting fraud, there was nothing. And this is what we're doing here while people are being murdered right outside on the sidewalks and the streets of New York, while people are experiencing horrible, violent crime at levels that nobody's ever seen in this city before. This is what the Attorney General is spending all the time on. So just to put it, finally, he's going to continue to testify, but I don't imagine he's going to be changing his basic statement. His finding is that there was no accounting fraud whatsoever. The statements that we put in were very conservative. They were the opposite of what they said. The accounting fraud, and the fraud was on behalf of the judge and the Attorney General, who took assets and made them numbers that were fraudulent. As an example, Mar-a-Lago. As an example, Doral in Miami. As an example, 40 Wall Street and others, where they cut the values to a level that nobody's even imagined. You take a look at Doral and look at the numbers that we're talking about for Doral. But the most obvious of all, because of the fact that people know it, is when you value a place like Mar-a-Lago.
Somebody give him a decent
$18
fucking
million,
microphone, though.
it's worth anywhere from 50
What's up,
to
Flex
100
Raid?
times that amount. We had an expert witness in the other day. He's the biggest broker in the country for luxury properties. I guess he's the ultimate expert, actually. What is that? And he valued Mar-a-Lago at over $1 billion. And
Hey, what's
the
up,
judge
Flex?
valued it at 18 million. The judge doesn't know the value of Mar-a-Lago. And the Attorney General is the one that convinced the judge to say that. It's a fraud. The whole case is a fraud. What they've done is they've weaponized justice, and this is coming from the White House, because I'm beating Biden by a lot, and this is coming right out of the White House. You know it, I know it, and they know it. So just to end this, the expert witness, one of the most highly respected people in the country for doing this kind of work, found absolutely no accounting fraud. This case should be ended. Also, the judge, as you know, was rebuked in that he was overturned by the appellate division of the New York State Supreme Court, which is a higher court, a much higher court than where we are right now. The judge refused to acknowledge it. This case would be over, because that was about 90% of the case, having to do with statute of limitations. This case should be over. This case should have never been brought. This was a political witch hunt by an Attorney General who's out of control and tried to get elected governor and failed. But this is a political witch hunt, and our country should be ashamed of what's going on. But we will probably go forward, and I'm sure nothing will have any bearing on what this judge does. It's a very sad day for our country, because people are coming in, we can say this every day, and we are totally innocent. This is weaponization of justice. This is something that nobody's ever seen.
All right, that's good enough. So, and in part why I play that is because the attacks are ramping up. You're starting to see in the news media now that individuals are concerned about a potential elimination of Mr. Trump right on cue. So it'll be something to watch. I don't think I want him back in the White House, but thank you, Flex, for sending people over. Appreciate it. How you doing, by the way? So, yeah, I think that President Trump, they're not gonna let him win the presidency. It's just not gonna happen. He's gonna continue to have threats and be charged, and eventually, once you throw enough at an individual, to include bullets, realistically, let's be honest, eventually one of them are gonna catch. So they can't make it look like an accident. It'll tear the country apart. I think it has to be incredibly deliberate. I think it has to be some crazy left-winger, Antifa type Like they have to set it up so the American people don't lose their mind. It can't be a government actor. It can't be. They're gonna have to do it. I mean, it sounds bad, but they're gonna have to do it right. So, that's what I've been saying. They're gonna JFK the hell out of him. But I think you have to do it in a certain way because of the political tension that's going on right now. So exactly. I am as well. No, they don't want him to speak. They don't want him to say anything. But, ladies and gentlemen, we do have some good news. This is from the House of Representatives. It's going to be voted on next week. And this is House Res 918. It's like 20 pages, so we're not going to read it all because there's another one that's going to come behind it. But this is the House Republicans putting their findings on a piece of paper from the corruption that we've been seeing and covering. And they have every intention to vote for impeachment in the coming weeks. So we may actually see some accountability. Again, the Senate's not going to prosecute. It's not going to go anywhere, but it will be just another talking point, like the several they nailed on Donald Trump. So we'll see what comes of it. Once again, probably nothing. The GOP is a bunch of cucks, but got fucking 9 super heavy in here. What? Who will be the patsy to fall when they JFK him? Well, it's gonna have to be a nobody. It's gonna have to be a literal nobody. Maybe. Very well could be. Oh yeah, absolutely. Every single president from here on out is going to be impeached. It's a weapon at this point. It's going to continue to happen over and over and over. Moving on, we're going to move on over here to our everybody's favorite war criminal, Zelensky. The Biden administration is openly threatening Americans over Ukraine. In a classified briefing to the House yesterday, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin informed members that if they don't appropriate more money for Zelensky, we will send your uncles, cousins, and sons to fight Russia. Pay the oligarchs or we'll kill your kids. So that is an actual direct quote leaked from the classified briefing yesterday. They have every intention to blackmail and hold people. And if we're not willing to continuously and perpetually fund this money laundering scheme that's going through Ukraine, then the United States government is going to declare war against Russia and send our sons and daughters to die in battle. Fuck you, Joe Biden. Fuck you. Again, this is actually, and there's Elon. He really said this. He really did confirmed. So, yeah, they're gonna send us to die, and I for one say fuck Joe Biden. Yep. Exactly. Is that his actual name? Damn. You can, but there'll be some bullshit justification, and then they'll court-martial you anyways. Just because you're right doesn't mean you're righteous. U.S. government has a great track record of fucking people into doing things that they would or shouldn't do, with threats and coercion, much like what's happening right here. So, this is a common tactic by the United States government, and realistically, it will probably continue to happen this way. I still see us in a major war. I think we're already in the major war. We're just waiting for it to officially kick off. So, just because just because things are what they are doesn't mean that, so. They're going to expand it to women as well. Mark my words. Yep. Hey, what's up, Aaron? Exactly. They can't, but they can hold just enough to deter enough people to make it ridiculous. You don't have to get them all. You just have to get enough so it's in their mind that it could happen. And it's the same thing that happened on January 6th. It's going to be the same deal. Like people haven't protested or done anything because the January 6th shit encourage people not to. So you don't have to get everybody. You just have to get enough. Exactly. Chilling effect. So moving on. According to Penn, calling for genocide is harassment, but it also isn't harassment because it's depending on context. Like he says, mind-blowing testimony. So there was also a transgender issue that happened. Like these congressional, and we watch them every once in a while over here. Some of these congressional things are just asinine. Like, it is all gaslighting and it is all ridiculous. I think you sent me this, Digger, right? But let's listen in.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it if the
Yes
speech
or no?
becomes, if the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes. And Dr. Gay, at Harvard.
God, people are so damn stupid anymore. God, I mean, what do you even do about that? So, anyways, we're not going to spend too much time on it. Thank you, Digger, for the clip. I appreciate it, dear. So, moving right along, it is election season, so the next one's coming. This is that so-called white lung, and these are the countries that it's supposedly infected. It was done by an American. Americans don't know geography, so this is now Sweden. So, X-Comer actually does live in Sweden now, because I think this is... No, shit, that's even wrong. Because this one's Sweden. I don't know. See, an American made it. Sweden, Denmark, which is actually Finland, Denmark, UK, Switzerland, Nepal, India, Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, Taiwan, China, Vietnam, and the good old US of A is where there are confirmed cases. So this is just another one of those things to look out for. Protect yourself. We don't give medical advice, but this one's sounding much like the previous. Like there might be some sticky jabby jabs, allegedly. But just another data point. The election's coming up, so there's got to be something to stop us from voting, right? Yeah, we're good. Nothing here. I don't actually know which one's you, bud. I think you're the front one, but I don't know. Honestly, I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm just American. We don't do geography. Really don't know which one's you, but I think it's the first one on the peninsula, but I could be wrong. Found it interesting that U.S. is bright red. Canada isn't even thinking about it. Yeah. It seems to be very selective. Some of the original reporting I saw on it was that it was a vitamin A issue and it was only third world countries. And I was like, I don't know if the U.S. has fallen that far yet. Maybe second, but now third. 100-day cough? Huh. We call it cold here. It happens every year. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. But big scary Bill Gates has got to fix it. So, but just another data point to look out for. All right, so we're going into Prison Planet. So I don't have any. I lied. I have one explicit one tonight. So not trigger warning yet, but so breaking multiple shots fired at Lawrence Central High School during an indoor basketball game in Indianapolis, Indiana. Shenny, I meant to get back with you, but when you were saying something about the scanner last night, I believe that this would have been what was going on, because this happened last night at about 11 p.m. Eastern time. So pretty likely that's what you were hearing on the or noticing on the scanners that you were watching at the time. So another school shooting at a basketball stadium. Currently, numerous law enforcement and emergency personnel are on the scene at Lawrence Central High School in Indianapolis, Indiana, after multiple shots were fired at the entrance, where there was a basketball game taking place. The incident unfolded following a massive fight, and officers reported discovering numerous shell casings outside the school. At the time, no injuries had been reported. Police are saying the alleged shooter is reportedly inside the women's restroom at the scene. So we will watch the original video and then the update video.
We heard shots fired. Everybody took off running. They put the school on lockdown.
Why is he recording?
They got somebody on the. Oh, they getting somebody.
It's not that deep. People just shooting in the air.
Bro, because y'all got police making more traffic. That's what I told y'all. Mama not to come over here. Mm-hmm. The popo need to pull in the grass. I'm proud of Lawrence PD. They did their thing. They did, but like, is that not your thought?
LC, boy. What we really care about is her actually talking about her relationship with Travis Kelce, really for the first time.
We heard.
No comment on the commentary because I don't want to get in trouble today. So here's an update. Police say a large fight broke out in the school's parking lot during the basketball game where shots were fired. A juvenile found reportedly in the women's restroom inside the school with a gun. The police took the juvenile into custody, and there have been no reported injuries. So we'll listen to. I thought he was a cop, but he might not be a cop. We'll listen to this guy. Exactly.
Well, this evening, right around 9 o'clock, as the Lawrence North versus Lawrence Central basketball game was concluding here at Lawrence Central High School.
Oh, it is a cop.
There was disturbance in the parking lot involving 2 shots fired. This is all preliminary information as we understand at this point. It still is very much evolving, and the investigation remains ongoing. There were 2 shots fired out in the parking lot outside of the gym at the conclusion of the basketball game. Thankfully, nobody was injured as a part of those shots fired. We're very thankful for that. Officers converged to the scene to start to disperse the crowd that was there. And while they were doing so, located one juvenile who was armed with a handgun inside of the gym. that juvenile was taken immediately into custody and secured. It's important to emphasize that there is no active threat at this point. Lawrence Police, supported very robustly by our partners at IMPD, are here clearing Lawrence Central to ensure everybody's safety and security and to secure the facility. And that's what we have thus far.
All right. So you heard it from what I thought was a cop and then wasn't sure. And then I think I'm sure now. It seemed to be more of not as much of a mass shooter situation as it is more of like an altercation or I'm trying to avoid that word. Yeah, we'll just move right on. So that happened. Moving on. This one happened yesterday, and it was kind of interesting. So, active shooter with multiple victims at the University of Nevada. So this one was a big topic last night, and relatively interesting. They did not release the shooter's name immediately. I have seen a picture and a name today, but they said they weren't going to release the name until the next of kin was notified, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, currently multiple authorities are on the scene after an active shooter went on a shooting rampage at the University of Nevada campus in Las Vegas, Nevada, firing multiple shots. Police are confirming that multiple people have been shot and injured, but there's no word yet on the number of victims at this time. One suspect has been contained, which was the shooter. Police are asking everyone to avoid the area at the time and people to still remain in place. Allegedly, he was a former or a teacher that was attempting to get employment at the school. And for whatever reason, he was denied employment. And then it seems like he kind of went on this shooting rampage. There is for certain an update. The Las Vegas police have declared that there's no further threat. A single shooter was confirmed dead in the UNLV attack. And then right after the FAA issued a security ground stop for flights bound for Vegas Harry Reid International Airport, which is less than a mile from UNLV. Likely an extension, according to the FAA. So they started grounded flights as well. At least 3 people, including the shooter, are dead after a mass shooting occurred at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Exact number is unknown at this time. So a lot of different reporting on that. And then the Las Vegas gunman responsible for the mass shooting claimed 4 lives at the University of Nevada. At least Las Vegas has been identified as a 67-year-old college professor whose job application at the university was denied. So that's kind of what we got going on with that situation. It seems like they resolved it. It seems like there were certainly 3 people that passed away and the shooter. And that seems like kind of the end of that issue. As always, I mean, bro, just end yourself. Like, fuck you. Don't take people with you just because you didn't get a job at a university. Do you have a name? I really don't like saying the name but I guess I can. Matthew Harris 2.0, maybe school teacher and everything. Maybe I'll show a picture. I really hate saying the names. I feel like that gives them some kind of fucking status, but he's an odd looking duck. Let's say that much. So there's our gunman. Fucking coward. But anyways, so we're going to move on to another shooting in Las Vegas. This one happened a couple days previous to that shooting. This was on December 1st. It gives them notoriety. Yeah, exactly. Mass shooting claims lives of multiple homeless individuals with suspect at large. Law enforcement and other authorities are currently on the scene of a mass shooting in Vegas, where 5 homeless individuals were shot, including 2 fatalities. 3 others have been transported to the hospital for injuries. Nearby streets are closed as the police investigate. The suspect is still at large. So it looks like homeless were targeted in this attack. Yeah.
5 people have been shot, which is considered a mass shooting at this point. We don't have any information as to the condition of those people, and we don't have any information concerning the status of the suspect. Charleston is shut down in both directions, as well as the ramp from US 95 to Charleston. That is shut down. Honolulu Street is also shut down in one direction. They are still allowing traffic to exit the area, but no one else is being allowed into the area. You can see Las Vegas Metropolitan Police has a large perimeter set up, lots of police tape in this area, and you can see a very large police presence here. I would estimate there's probably about 50 to 100 officers here. They're combing through this area. I'm seeing them questioning a lot of people. I'm also seeing them search the ground with flashlights. So there's obviously a very large scene. 5 people have been shot, which is considered a mass shooting at this point. We don't have any information as to the condition of those people, and we don't have any information concerning the status of the...
Oh, shit. See, it just plays through. Sorry about that. It sounded like he was just wrapping up. But anyways, a neighborhood has been evacuated as a bomb squad responds to a discovery of an unknown cardboard box device with fuses inside of a home. This was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and this was on December 3rd. Currently, multiple law enforcement, including bomb squads, are on the scene in the Mayfair neighborhood of Philadelphia after officers responded to a 911 call concerning an individual with a gun. Upon arrival and inside the property, officers discovered an unknown suspicious device, a cardboard box with fuses protruding. Like, that's fucking odd in its own right, isn't it? I don't know. The discovery was prompted the evacuation of the neighborhood block, and the situation is still unfolding.
.31 Cotman Avenue.
Okay, so beautiful fire truck. Nothing really ever happened from that one. It just kind of went away. So weird, odd situation, and we'll get to partially why it was weird in another story. But breaking: woman Palestinian protester draped in a Palestinian flag has set herself on fire with gasoline outside an Israeli consulate building right outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Palestinian draped in a Palestinian flag has set themselves on fire with gasoline outside Atlanta, Georgia, that houses the Israeli consulate on Friday afternoon. Both the protester and the security guard were hospitalized with burns. The police are investigating the incident as arson and describe it as an extreme act of political protest. The security guard sustained burns on his wrist and leg, while protester is in critical condition with third-degree burns. Authorities have recovered an Palestinian flag that was part of the protest. Currently, there's an investigation underway. That would be a bitch to get burned like that. Like, I would never. Ooh, fire hurts, man. That's not my gig. I wouldn't go out like that. Oh, that's cool, man.
Set themselves on fire outside of a Midtown office building. This happened outside of an office building on Spring Street, right near 14th Street and I-85. An Israeli consulate office is in that building. Let's go now to Channel 2's investigative reporter, Ashley Lincoln, live at that location where Atlanta police just wrapped up a news conference there. Ashley, what have you learned?
Yeah, we've learned a lot about what happened this afternoon. Police and fire just wrapped up their news conference about 10 minutes ago. What happened all took place, as you mentioned, right here in front of this office building behind me where the Israeli consulate, their office is located. Now, we do know that individual who set themselves on fire, according to police, was wrapped in a Palestinian flag, according to law enforcement. Now, the individual standing in front outside of the office was attempting to set themselves on fire. Now, police said the individual poured gasoline on themselves before igniting that fire. A security guard who works at the building tried multiple times to stop the individual from setting that fire. Unfortunately, he was unsuccessful. Police said the person
Holy
who set
shit.
themselves on fire was 100% engulfed in flames. Now, police confirmed part of that video that you saw on your screen was images of the security guard who tried to extinguish that fire. He was injured with some burns on his wrist. The individual engulfed in flames
God, I
was
would hope
taken
they
to
would.
the hospital, and according to police, that person is listed as critical at this.
All right. So, I mean, why? Why the hell would you do that? Why? I don't. I will never understand people. I will never understand people ever in my life. But, and moving on to another person I'll never understand. Long Island man. This is the graphic part. The next two. Long Island man charged with grape. More after naked teen flees his home. Wood chippers? Does anybody have their wood chipper on? Sorry, I didn't give enough trigger warning for you guys to fire up the wood chippers, but trust me, you're going to need it for this one. Yeah. Woodbury, New York. We've learned more about the Woodbury, Long Island man whose police said barricaded himself in the house after allegedly committing crimes against a 14-year-old. Neighbors of 26 Roseanne Drive in Woodbury cited years of complaints, suspected squatters living there, and the home fence in disrepair. Tuesday morning, when town inspectors came with a violation notice, a 14-year-old ran out of the house naked and crying. Death penalty? Yeah. I mean, I'll allow it. When Chipper goes burr. There we go. We got him. All right. So this one I thought was well, I won't say funny because that would be mean. There's video on it. So we're gonna watch no, that's the homeless woman. Hollywood social justice warrior allegedly killed by a woman in his own home. That's what it says. Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon announced today that Jamil Michael is charged with shooting and killing Michael Latt during an attack on his home in the Mid-Wilshire area of Los Angeles. Our hearts, blah, blah, blah. We don't want to listen to all that. James Elena Michael is charged with 1 count of murder and 1 count of first-degree residential burglary with person present. On November 27th, Mitchell allegedly went to the victim's residence on the 900 block of Allendale Avenue after she targeted him for being friends with a woman she had been stalking. That's a good one. Hey, what's up, Fiery? How you doing, buddy? She's allegedly knocked on the front door, forcing herself into the residence. Once it was opened by one of the occupants, Mitchell, who was allegedly armed with a semi-automatic, fully automatic, extended clip, big, terrifying handgun, shot and killed the victim inside of the home. Prosecution is recommending that Mitchell be held on a $3 million bail. So a social justice warrior was killed by somebody. I don't know. There's one. Oh, this is the thread I want, I believe. What the fuck is that?
'Cause I don't know. 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 I
So here is, this was in Arlington, Virginia the other night. Just an odd situation. Again, just a lot of weird shit going on right now. So this is Arlington, Virginia. Numerous reports of people hearing large explosion rattling multiple buildings and homes. So this is allegedly 4 miles from the White House in Arlington, Virginia. Currently, numerous reports are emerging of people hearing and seeing a large explosion in Arlington, Virginia, extending across Washington, D.C. Witnesses describe a yellow flash followed by a massive boom, rattling multiple buildings and homes. Officials are reporting that it was a house explosion, with accounts of people being burned, heavy flames, and thick plumes of smoke billowing from a building surrounded by trees. So, for your discretion, we're going to watch the video. This was incredibly fishy, and it gets weirder. Not something I'm going to talk about here, but there's some interesting connections. Let's just say that. And it's obviously the flames that can be seen from some distance. I believe this was an Asian gentleman, wasn't it? Meth lab? It didn't seem to be a meth lab, so we'll get into the official explanation here in a moment, but he had some, I'll say this much and I'll leave it at this. He had some interesting ties with the United States government and the Department of Justice. So, very, very interesting. So, there's that portion of it. I think this is from a different angle, or maybe this is the same video. Yeah, this is the same video. There was one more from a different angle, but I don't know that it's in there. So, according to Arlington police, the suspect attempted to fire a flare gun at police while serving a warrant, and the flare gun is what caused the massive explosion. That is one hell of a flare gun. There's been some speculation that he turned on the gas stove, blah, blah, blah. I disagree, but I don't know. It's all just speculation on my part. But it seems to me that it was more than a flare gun and the gas stove on. He was not a friend of Hillary. He was very oppositional to Hillary. There was some memes and shit posting in his past about Hillary Clinton. So I can take that for what it's worth. That's a reason for your house to blow up right there. Get on that bitch's bad side. Holy shit, I didn't say that out loud. Let's make boom boom. So that's the alleged real story, is that it was that flare gun. I've shot many a flare gun and never blown up a house with it. Never. I don't know. Chat, have you ever shot a flare gun and blown up a house? I don't think it's possible. I really don't. But I could be wrong. I was wrong once. So, and then we get this update from the Arlington Police Department. Breaking, police confirm discovery of human remains belonging to 56-year-old James Yu in yesterday's home explosion. Arlington police have announced that they've identified the suspect in the house explosion as 56-year-old James Yu, presumed dead, with human remains found at the scene. The cause of the explosion is still unknown. Police are attempting to execute a search warrant after 30 to 40 flares were fired from the home earlier in that day. Arlington Fire Department revealed that the gas service was cut off before the explosion. That's an interesting development. So there wasn't any gas. So that throws out that theory. And why the hell would you cut the gas service for serving a warrant? That seems odd. The The investigation involving the ATF and FBI is ongoing, with bomb experts later deployed. Approximately 10 to 12 houses have been affected with varying degrees of damage. So that's the latest update that we have on that house explosion that was entirely fishy. A lot more questions than answers, in my opinion, with the whole situation. But you know, I mean, we only get half the story, and then a third of that's true. So it's kind of what we're stuck with. But moving right along to a current situation that's unfolding. Well, current, I mean today. Hazmat crews on the scene as 10,000 gallons of fuel have spilled onto the JFK runway from overturned tanker truck in Queens, New York. Emergency crews, including hazmat units, are currently on the scene at JFK Airport in Queens, New York, after a tanker truck overturned, spilling 10,000 gallons of hazardous jet fuel onto the runway. The spill has been covered in foam to prevent further spreading. Hazmat units are actively working to determine the optimal method for offloading the remaining fuel from the truck. They'll probably just blow it up. As of now, no injuries have been reported. Could be. Oh, I think so too. I think it all is. Oh, there's my midstream. Please hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Smash the bell. Get updates when I go live. Thank you, Digger. Thank you. So, you gotta think at some point this shit is intentional. Highly intentional. So that's interesting. Here we go. Here's another odd situation, let's call it. So, residents are urged to self-evacuate. Tell me if you heard that before. Following a significant natural gas leak in the area of Greenville, Ohio. Emergency crews are responding to a significant natural gas leak in Greenville, Ohio. Residents in the affected area are asked to self-evacuate due to the risk of an explosion. Authorities recommend seeking shelter with family or friends, bringing alongside essential medications and pets. Note that some residents may experience temporary power shutdown while Centerpoint Energy makes repairs. So there's no update on this one either. Again, just a random leak. Nothing to see here, boys and girls. Nothing to see here. Why would there be? There's got to be some method. There's got to be some reason why this kind of shit continues to happen. This is every week. We're seeing this literally every week, that something crazy is happening and there's something that's just insane and off the wall. It's odd, man. It's really odd. And I don't know what to make of it. Like, what are you supposed to do, you know? So how old is that? That was the 4th. So that was 3 days ago. So 3 days ago, 3 nights ago. But no update to it, so. God, I mean, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? All right. Yeah, Jacob, I do news once a week because I don't want to be like a news channel, but I like covering some of the stuff for different data points and stuff. So I just rounded up for the whole week. But this one was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. maybe because I know what phosgene is, but multiple hazmat crews are on the scene due to a hazardous chemical leak of phosgene gas in LaPorta, Texas. Multiple hazmat crews and emergency personnel are on the scene of a chemical leak emergency at Altiva Specialty Chemical Plant in LaPorta, Texas. The situation has led to a shelter in place. According to plant officials, phosgene gas, a colorless gas with suffocating odor like musty hay, has been leaked. Exposure to phosgene may cause irritation to the eyes, dry, burning throat, vomit, cough, foamy sputum, breathing difficulty, chest pain, and when in liquid form, frostbite. Workers may be harmed from exposure to phosgene, which is used in the manufacture of chemicals, pesticides, and pharmaceuticals. And this one does have an update. 8 people are hospitalized following the chemical leak. Emergency at Altiva. The leak has now stopped, and the city of LaPorta has lifted the shelter in place after release of the toxic, dangerous chemical phosgene. Phosgene is some nasty shit. It's probably one of the more dangerous things we've seen leaked as of late. And again, it seems like there's some kind of intention or some kind of plan behind all these leaks, all these fires, all this destruction, all that kind of shit. Like, it just seems like there's some kind of plan behind the way that this thing's happening. But, right. So, move on to the next story. Much worse. Much worse. Sputum? Okay. Phosgene? It's, here. Phosgene. It's, it's got carbon, oxygen, and chlorine. It was used in something. I forget what the hell it was used in, but it was used in something. Yeah. So it's mustard gas. That's what I thought it was, but I wanted to verify that. So it's mustard gas. So it's dangerous. Very, very dangerous. They use it in a lot of industrial chemicals and stuff like that, industrial processing, but it's mustard gas. Yeah. It is mustard gas, but so moving on, I thought I'd add my Xcomer's 2 favorite things. Happy Hanukkah to all my Jewish viewers. There's like 70 of you. So, and space. So the International Space Station is celebrating Hanukkah. It says Happy Hanukkah from the space station. Real candles not allowed. So they have this paper candle that's I know we're gonna destroy ourselves.
Happy Hanukkah from the International Space Station.
Dreidel, 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 I made you out of clay. Dreidel, 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 with Dreidel I should play. It's never gonna stop spinning. What kind of magic is that? Don't answer that. All right, I'm intrigued. When's it gonna stop? Exactly. Yes.
Happy
I don't know what's
Hanukkah
called
from
Hanukkah.
the International Space Station.
All right. So funny thing, real quick. I don't know if anybody stab it. I don't know if anybody saw this, but this was BBC anchor before she got ready to go on live. Oh, I almost stopped it on time. And she's flipping off the audience. This is an actual from BBC. She's flipping off the audience. So that's always cute.
Live from London, this is BBC News. Britain's former Prime Minister Boris Johnson apologises for the pain and loss suffered in the UK during the coronavirus pandemic.
Very likely, yes. Very likely. I don't think you could play. They would have to simulate the dice somehow. I don't think you could play with regular dice. Or it would take you a really long time. All right, so looking at the spaceflight for this week, I did not update the page. 12 a.m. to 2:41 tonight. We have that's Pacific time, so I'm not going to do that one live because that's super early for me. But from Vandenberg Space Force Base, we have a Falcon Heavy coming up, which is going to be fun. The USS 52 mission. And then the Moon God Awakens on December 13th. So that's what we have scheduled and coming up next week. So those are the flights that I will cover. All but this one, because I'm not staying up till 6 in the morning. So this is the main event. And this is the bulk of the show. And this is, I wanted to put it at the end in case somebody didn't, want to sit through it or whatever the case is. But I think this is how we got or get into World War III. This is happening today, yesterday into today. I think it officially happened today, but they had a conference yesterday. But anyways, 4 Russia-affiliated military personnel charged with war crimes in connection with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. War crimes against 4 Russia-affiliated military personnel were unsealed today in the Eastern District of Virginia. The charges include torture, inhumane treatment, and unlawful confinement of a U.S. national in Ukraine following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. So there's a lot of talk that we're going to hold Russia accountable. Exactly. Dice app is probably realistically what it was. I'm not sure. It was sold as the audience, but you're right. It could have been the person behind the camera. I don't know that they actually say who the hell it was. Exactly, because they're essentially saying that the Russians did the same exact thing that was done at Abu Ghraib, stripping them naked, taking pictures of them, making them do unnatural poses, that kind of shit. So, what's up, Gemstone? Definitely from the Azov battalion. But Lyra is still in Ukraine? Okay. But, so this is the press conference from Department of Justice. I was going to watch the whole thing. This is about 30 minutes long. And it's with Merrick Garland. And it gives you a background on what happened and stuff like that. I'm going to let it run. I'm not going to interrupt a ton. I'll pop in every once in a while, but prefer to let it just kind of run and you guys decide. So I'll go ahead and start it now. Merrick Gargoyle.
Good morning. I'm joined today by Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, FBI Director Chris Wray, Acting Assistant Attorney General Nicole Argentieri, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia Jessica Aber, and ICE Acting Deputy Director Stacey Barrera. Also here are Eli Rosenbaum, the head of the department's War Crimes Accountability Team, Christian Levesque, lead prosecutor for the War Crimes Accountability Team, and David Sumberg, Assistant Director in charge of the FBI Washington Field Office. On February 24th, 2022, Russia commenced its full-scale, unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. In the nearly 2 years since, we have all seen invading Russian forces commit atrocities on the largest scale in any European armed conflict since the Second World War. We have all heard the accounts of Ukrainian civilians targeted and executed, Ukrainian children forcibly deported, and Ukrainian women and girls sexually assaulted. And as the world has witnessed the horrors of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine, so has the United States Department of Justice. That is why the Justice Department has filed the first ever charges under the U.S. War Crimes Statute against 4 Russia-affiliated military personnel for heinous crimes against an American citizen. Congress passed the U.S. War Crimes Statute nearly 30 years ago to give us jurisdiction to prosecute war crimes committed against American citizens abroad. In an indictment returned yesterday in the Eastern District of Virginia, we have charged 4 Russia-affiliated military personnel with war crimes against an American citizen living in Ukraine. The charges include conspiracy to commit war crimes, including war crimes outlawed by the international community after World War II, unlawful confinement, torture, and inhuman treatment. Like all defendants in the U.S. criminal justice system, the defendants in this case are entitled to due process of law and are presumed innocent until proven guilty. We allege that in April of 2022, 2 commanding officers of Russia-affiliated forces, Suren Zuranovich Mukherjian and Dmitry Budnik, as well as 2 lower-ranking soldiers whose first names are Valery and Nazar, committed war crimes against an American citizen who had been living in Russia since 2021. The victim was living in Milovy, a small village in southern Ukraine, and was not participating in the armed conflict between Russia and Ukraine. As such, the victim was what is known as a protected person under international law. After Russian forces invaded Milovy, the victim was abducted from his home by 3 of the defendants, Mukherjian, who was one of the commanding officers, and Valery and Nazar, the lower-ranking soldiers, and their co-conspirators. During the abduction, we allege that those defendants threw the victim to the ground while he was naked, tied his hands behind his back, pointed a gun at his head, and beat him with their feet, their fists, and the stocks of their guns. We allege that they forced him into a building that Russia-affiliated forces were using as a jail and into a closet that they were using as a jail cell. We allege that as they interrogated him, they tortured him. They beat him again with a gun. They punched him in his chest and stomach. They threatened to shoot him. They stripped off his clothes and took pictures. One of their conspirators threatened to sexually assault him. And during the interrogation, when the victim's answers did not satisfy the defendants, we allege that Budnik, who was also a commanding officer, threatened the victim with death and asked for his last words. We allege that Nazar and other conspirators then took the victim outside. There, they forced him to the ground, put a gun to the back of his head. The victim believed he was about to be killed. They moved the gun just before pulling the trigger, and the bullet went just past his head. After the mock execution, the victim was beaten and interrogated again. At one point, he was told through an interpreter that he was, quote, going to sleep. And he was told by Mukherjian, quote, good night, leading the victim to believe again that he was about to be killed. During his 10 days detained by Russia-affiliated forces, the victim in this case was tortured, threatened with sexual assault and execution, forced to perform manual labor, and beaten in the head, chest, and stomach with the soldiers' feet, their fists, and their guns. Again and again, he believed he was going to die. These charges against 4 Russia-affiliated military personnel are the Justice Department's first criminal charges under the U.S. War Crimes Statute. They are also an important step toward accountability for the Russian regime's illegal war in Ukraine. Our work is far from done. I want to recognize the criminal divisions, including the Human Rights and Special Prosecutions Section and the War Crimes Accountability Team, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia, the FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security, including Homeland Security investigations. Their diligent and skillful work is what made these historic charges possible. I also want to recognize the incredible courage of our partners in Ukraine, specifically our counterparts in the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office. In the midst of war, Ukrainian prosecutors and investigators have risked their lives to pursue justice for the Ukrainian people. We are honored to stand alongside them. Finally, I want to recognize our partners in the international community. We will continue to work closely alongside them to gather evidence and build cases so that when the time comes, the United States and our partners will be ready to ensure accountability for Russia's war of aggression. This is an historic day for the Justice Department that builds on a long history. The War Crimes Accountability Team prosecuting this case is modeled in part on the Justice Department's decades-long effort to identify, denaturalize, and deport Nazi war criminals in the United States. During that effort, the department's Office of Special Investigations brought more than 130 cases against perpetrators of Nazi crimes. In the vast majority of those cases, the perpetrators were not identified until decades after they committed their horrific crimes. This history should make clear that the Justice Department and the American people have a long memory. We will not forget the atrocities in Ukraine, and we will never stop working to bring those responsible to justice. Throughout our work, we will continue to put our trust in the rule of law. The rule of law is the best answer we have to crimes that cannot be truly answered. The rule of law is how we pursue true accountability for the individuals responsible for those crimes and how we deter future aggression. And the rule of law is how we pursue justice in a way that protects people and protects our shared humanity. I'm now honored to turn the podium over to Secretary Mayorkas.
Thank you very much, Attorney General Garland. In 2008, the Department of Homeland Security and its Homeland Security Investigations, or HSI, created the Human Rights Violators and War Crimes Center, the only U.S. government entity focused entirely on investigating these global atrocities. For 15 years, this select group of special agents, attorneys, intelligence analysts, criminal research specialists, and historians from across the federal government have worked together and with their international counterparts to hold those who engage in the perpetration of war crimes, genocide, torture, and other human rights violations accountable. Today, an investigation more than a year in the making by this center and its federal partners bears fruit. For the first time in our nation's history, federal agents gathered sufficient evidence to bring charges of war crimes perpetrated against an American citizen in violation of Title 18 of the United States Code, Section 2441. The allegations, which the Attorney General has described, detail gruesome events. The agents who made this case possible were tireless in their investigation, giving extraordinary attention to every detail and making considerable sacrifices throughout. In August 2022, these HSI agents traveled with our DOJ and FBI partners to speak with an American citizen who had recently been evacuated from Ukraine, where he had been living with his wife. The U.S. citizen told our HSI agents how, a few months earlier, he had been violently abducted from his home in the village of Milove by members of the Russian armed forces. He told HSI investigators, as the Attorney General noted, that these Russians had stripped him naked, threw him face down to the ground, tied his hands behind his back, pointed a gun at his head, and severely beat him, including with the stocks of their guns. The Russian soldiers then took him to a nearby Russian military compound and held him there illegally for 10 days. He reported that while in forced captivity, he was subjected to 2 interrogation sessions, during which he was tortured by the 4 defendants named today. He reported that the Russian defendants had again stripped him naked, photographed him, and severely beat him about the chest and stomach. One defendant staged a mock execution of him. After asking for the victim's last words, one of the defendants named today forced the victim to the ground, put a gun to the back of his head, and pulled the trigger, purposely missing the victim's head by mere inches. Throughout this past year, our HSI agents, with the assistance of HSI's Human Rights Violators and War Crimes Center and alongside our FBI partners, have worked to corroborate the victim's allegations. They traveled internationally to interview the victim's family. They identified and interviewed individuals who were present within the general vicinity of Milove around the time the victim was held in captivity, who confirmed the Russian forces' occupation in the area. Based on the information they obtained, the HSI agents and their FBI partners were able to identify the 4 defendants whose indictments are announced today. I'm extraordinarily proud of these federal law enforcement agents. Thanks to their exceptional work, the United States will hold the Russian perpetrators of this unthinkable mistreatment, these unacceptable human rights violations, accountable. The work of these agents and the indictments unsealed today speak to 2 fundamental truths. First, there is no higher responsibility of government than to safeguard its people and their basic human rights. As today's announcement makes clear, when an American citizen's human rights are violated, their government will spare no effort and spare no resources to bring the perpetrators to justice. Second, the evidence gathered by our agents speaks to the brutality, criminality, and depravity of Russia's invasion. The Ukrainian people have had and must continue to have America's full support against Russia's unjust, unprovoked, and unlawful war of aggression. We cannot allow such horrific crimes to be ignored. To do so would only increase the risk they will be repeated. It is now my honor to introduce Chris Wray, the Director of the FBI.
Like, Russia's never going to turn these assholes over. Like, this is just a waste of time. This is just grandstanding.
Thanks, Ali. Good morning,
Again.
everyone. The FBI's mission is to protect the American people and uphold the
gonna say the same
Constitution
shit.
here at home and around the world. And today, together with our partners, we are once again fulfilling that mission. The charges unsealed just a few minutes ago reveal absolutely unconscionable crimes, including unlawful confinement, torture, and other inhumane acts committed against one of our own citizens by 4 individuals affiliated with the Russian military. That American, like so many others, became a victim of Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine, which continues to wreak unimaginable tragedy on the region. Caught in the crossfire of
Been
a
ignored
war
for
he
decades,
had
but I
no
guess when
part
there's
in,
someone else that matters
this
more.
American
Yeah.
was tormented for days at the hands of these
Well, and they want to make a
defendants.
statement.
And today's indictment demonstrates our commitment to our mission and our resolve to seek justice for all Americans, even amidst the fog of war. Though today marks the first time the War Crimes Act of 1996 has been charged in U.S. history, this is certainly not the first time the FBI has investigated war crimes and held perpetrators accountable. Cases like this one are among the most complex the FBI works, but bringing them is essential to deterring crimes like these and showing would-be perpetrators that no
It's
one
essential you've never done
is
it
above
before,
the
you
law
jack
and that
dick.
war crimes will not go unpunished. I want to thank all the men and women of the FBI who supported this investigation, including those in our Washington field office, the International Human Rights Unit within our Criminal Investigative Division at FBI headquarters, our legal attaché offices in Kyiv, Warsaw, and Moscow, and our victim services personnel. They have all played crucial roles in this investigation. The charges we're announcing today would not have been possible without our valued partners, both within the U.S. government and our allies overseas. So I also want to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude to our colleagues who work these cases at the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security for their collaboration and partnership. No agency can do this alone. This is a team effort, and I am confident that because of the partnerships on display here today, we have achieved a team victory, not just for this victim and for the American people, but for justice around the world. For decades, the FBI has been working to keep Americans safe from the many threats that Russia poses. Whether it's human rights abuses like those laid out in today's indictment, espionage, targeting the U.S. government and our most sensitive information by Russian intelligence services that have not been shy about even murdering those they dislike worldwide, cyber attacks against our critical infrastructure in the hopes of bringing our daily lives to a halt, or transnational repression through which the Russian government tries to silence its critics on our own soil. But no matter the threat, no matter how heinous the crimes, the FBI will be there to protect U.S. citizens. And as you can see from today's announcement, we will work relentlessly to bring criminals to justice, no matter how long or how far that work may take us. Thank you. Now I'll turn it over to Assistant Attorney General Nicole Argentieri.
Thank you, Director Wray. The charges announced today, the first under the federal war crimes statute, are historic. The Department of Justice is holding accountable 4 Russia-affiliated military personnel who committed war crimes in the course of Russia's unlawful, full-scale invasion of Ukraine. As alleged in the indictment, the defendants abducted, beat, and threatened to kill an American. They even conducted a mock execution. These charges send a clear message. The criminal division will pursue those who commit war crimes and other atrocities in Ukraine. We are committed to bringing war criminals to justice, no matter where they are located, for brutal acts committed against Americans. Last year, Attorney General Garland announced the launch of the War Crimes Accountability Team, led by prosecutors from the Criminal Division's Human Rights and Special Prosecutions Section, to strengthen the department's response to the atrocities being committed in Ukraine and to hold accountable perpetrators of war crimes in Ukraine. These charges were brought as part of that critical mandate. Those who would act with impunity should think twice. When we identify perpetrators of war crimes and the evidence supports charges, the criminal division will take action. This case is the result of the strong collaboration between our War Crimes Accountability Team, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia, and our key law enforcement partners, FBI and Homeland Security Investigations. Together, they've worked with great skill and tenacity to bring this historic criminal prosecution, emblematic of our collective resolve and commitment to holding perpetrators of war crimes accountable. I would also like to express my immense gratitude to the Prosecutor General's Office of Ukraine for their substantial assistance in this investigation and for their continued resolve to uphold the rule of law, even in the face of an active invasion and ongoing war. It is now my pleasure to turn this over to Jessica Aber, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, who has been an outstanding partner.
Thank you, Acting Assistant Attorney General.
Yeah, she's acting.
Good morning. Yesterday, as noted, a federal grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia returned an indictment charging 4 individuals with 4 counts of war crimes in connection with the abduction and torture of a U.S. national in Ukraine last year. And as alleged in the indictments, defendants Merkurchian, Budnik, Valeri, and Nazar were soldiers affiliated with the Russian armed forces fighting on behalf of Russia in the armed conflict between Russia and Ukraine. The victim in this case, as we've heard, was a civilian non-combatant who lived in the village of Milove in Kherson Oblast in southern Ukraine. Per the indictment, on April 2nd, 2022, just last year, the defendants allegedly abducted the victim from his home in Milove and took him to facilities functioning as a Russian armed forces controlled compound. The defendants and their co-conspirators are alleged to have held the victim against his will for approximately 10 days. And during that time, the defendants and their co-conspirators allegedly beat, tortured, and interrogated the victim using brutal and unlawful methods, including, as we've heard, striking him with their fists, their feet, their guns, threatening sexual violence, holding a knife to his throat, and forcing him to endure his own mock execution. As alleged, the defendants certainly intended to inflict severe physical and mental pain and suffering upon the victim with their actions. So these 4 defendants are charged in the Eastern District of Virginia with conspiracy to commit war crimes and war crimes alleging unlawful confinement of a protected person, torture, and inhuman treatment. These charges reflect that the defendants' alleged actions are not only grave breaches of the Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilian persons in time of war, but also violations of United States law. We at the Eastern District of Virginia are proud to stand with the
United
Criminal
States law
Division as
applying
part of the
Russia?
Department of Justice's efforts to hold perpetrators of war crimes violations accountable in Ukraine and elsewhere, and we will continue to
I think
pursue
he is,
them.
Desert.
We do want to thank our investigative partners in this case, the War Crimes Accountability Team, the FBI Washington Field Office, and Homeland Security Investigations for their outstanding efforts to gather evidence required for these complex and novel charges. Thank you. I will now turn this over to Stacey Barrera from ICE.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Acting Deputy Director Stacey Barrera for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. As many of you know, Homeland Security Investigations is a directorate of ICE.
Somebody put
and
a
the
picture in
principal
her in our new
investigative arm
Discord
of the
category.
Department of Homeland Security. Our
So we can get some
special
feedback.
agents in Washington, D.C., and those with HSI's Human Rights Violators and War Crimes Center worked closely with FBI and the Justice Department's Criminal Division
Allegedly,
to
Nia.
unravel the information that brought us here today. I'm extremely proud of the work done by HSI along with FBI to secure these indictments. HSI cannot and will not stand by as war criminals commit heinous acts like those alleged in this case. Our agency will continue to do what it takes, and that means everything within our extensive legal authorities and investigative capabilities to find and prosecute people who terrorize innocent victims under the pretext of war. We will continue to hold war criminals accountable by putting them behind bars. We're committed to making an example of criminals who violate international and U.S. laws, just as we are doing in this case, to prevent others from going down the same path. With that said,
Could you
I'd like
imagine
to
if her
extend
and
my
Chris
most
Christie
sincere
got
thanks
together?
to the FBI and the
Damn.
Department of Justice for their partnership, to Secretary Mayorkas for his unwavering support of HSI and ICE, and all the hardworking HSI personnel who have put in hundreds of hours piecing this case together. Thank you.
I'll take questions.
Two questions, one on topic, one slightly off. How many more of these can we expect? You said, I think, during your visit to Ukraine earlier this year that you were investigating a number of cases. Should we expect anything more in the coming months?
So I can't get into too many details, but This is our first, and you should expect more, yes.
On an unrelated topic, the Speaker of the House yesterday, in announcing the release of video taken from January 6th, said that he had blurred some of the faces because he was concerned that the Justice Department and the FBI would prosecute individuals potentially. Do you think that was an appropriate thing for him to say, and do you have any response?
Look, the Justice Department only prosecutes those people we believe commit crimes. I am extremely proud of the men and women of the department who are working every day to hold accountable those who committed crimes on January 6th. They will continue to do so.
Do you think it's appropriate, though, for a constitutional officer such as the Speaker of the House to essentially say that he didn't want the identities of people shown so that they couldn't be prosecuted?
All I can speak for is this constitutional officer, and that is we will prosecute people who commit crimes.
First for you, Attorney General Garland, then for Director Wray. This is your first war crimes charge. You said there would be more. Where are you on war crimes relating to Hamas?
So Hamas murdered and more than 30 Americans and kidnapped more during their terrorist attack on October 7th. We are investigating those heinous crimes, and we will hold those people accountable.
For Director Wray, if I may ask, sir, slightly off topic, but relating to security, you talked about 702 and FISA yesterday. Speaker Johnson, as Glenn mentioned, Speaker Johnson announced that it would not be continued as part of the NDAA. What does the Department of Justice do? What does the FBI do now that you're really up against the clock here of December 31st?
Well, I'll start and I'll turn it over to the director. Look, every morning I get a all threats briefing along with the FBI and the National Security Division, intelligence community. Much of that briefing comes from information derived from Section 702. If we don't have 702, we will not be able to protect the American people, particularly in light of what happened on October 7th and the ensuing increase in the threat tempo. I'll let the director say more.
So I'm not going to comment here on the sort of particularities of the legislative process itself, but what I will say is the whole point of Section 702 is to protect Americans from foreign threats. And 702 is indispensable in our ability to protect Americans from foreign terrorism, foreign cyber attacks, foreign hostile intelligence operations. And the idea that we would let an indispensable tool like that lapse, or frankly amend it in a way that gutted its effectiveness, in my view, would be a grave mistake. And I fear that we would all live to regret it.
Last question, here.
General Garland, hopefully the victim in this case is doing okay in regarding to the allegations of torture. Any evidence that senior officials at the Kremlin were aware of or directed the military officials in Russia to do this kind of activity? And does the American law allow for the prosecution of heads of state?
All right, I'm going to let our acting assistant attorney general, who's in charge of the war crimes accountability team, answer that question.
Unfortunately, I can't go beyond what's alleged in the indictment as to the pending investigation in the case. As to the war crimes statute, I think we would have to look at that.
Fuck off with you. You can't go any further. Shit's so stupid.
The terror environment, threat environment. Could you give us a sense of, compared to last year, the number of terror-related investigations that you had last year compared to what they are now?
So I would say a couple things. First, even before October 7th, we assessed that the terrorism landscape, the terrorism threat really across the spectrum from homegrown or jihadist-inspired violent extremism to domestic violent extremism to foreign terrorist organizations to state-sponsored terrorist attacks was elevated. But post-October 7th, it's gone up to a whole nother level. And the reason I say that is a number of things. First, the rate in which we are getting reports of threats tips, leads has gone up dramatically. I can't give you an actual number, but I can tell you it's a very significant increase. Just
I
hate
can't actually
crimes
tell you how
alone, for
much.
example, we've
Trust
opened,
me.
I think, 60% more hate crimes in the comparable
I'm
period
sure you have.
post
I'm sure
October
you have,
7th
Chris.
than before October 7th. And so the volume of reported threats has been up significantly. Second, we've seen, as I think I testified to, a veritable rogues gallery of foreign terrorist organizations, all calling for attacks in a way that we haven't seen in quite some time. So you put those things together, and our most immediate concern is that we will have inspired attacks here in the U.S. And of course, we're also worried that there could be down the road directed attacks against the U.S. We've already had post-October 7th arrests in Houston, in L.A., in Tampa, Arizona, a whole series of places. And those are just the ones I can think of off the top of my head. So this is not a time for panic, but it is a time for vigilance. And people should make no mistake that we are in a more dangerous time than we've been in a while.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that is it from the United States Department of Justice. Apparently, we're trying some Russians with war crimes. So that's not a waste of money or anything. That's totally going to work out. You know, exactly what's going to happen is Vladimir Putin is just going to hand them over in good faith and know that the United States is going to treat them fairly, Julian Assange, or, treat them accurately. Like, I can see that. Putin will probably fly him over personally and hand them to Joe Biden. No, of course that's not going to. What's going to happen? Fucking idiots. I just don't understand what the waste of money and everything is. Like, why? Why would you? Why? Like, what does this accomplish? It just pisses off Russia. Well, I guess that's what it accomplished. And maybe we did figure out what it accomplished. It's another cry for funding because the FBI needs more money to make false fucking charges that are never going to go anywhere. Also, it achieves their goal of fighting Russia, which we know is what they actually want. They want to fight Russia. So, I mean, I guess if you're looking at it critically, it does attain their goals, and it does a damn good job of it. So, again, the FBI is beyond corrupt. It's garbage, and something needs to be done with it. But yeah. Yeah, that's about it. Yep. So, I mean, you can read it, but I'm not saying it. So I forgot about one more article, and this is good news, boys and girls. Very good news. I'm not going to read this whole paper. There are plenty of articles out on it, but a federal judge has ruled that 18-year-olds can purchase handguns in the United States. Judge Thomas Klee says the sales ban violates the Second Amendment. He determined there isn't a historical tradition for barring adults from buying pistols. A required gun restriction under the Constitution, under the Supreme Court's latest precedent. He blocked enforcement of the law against plaintiffs in the case from 18 to 20-year-olds nationwide. So that's a win for the gun lobby. That's a win for the American citizens. I mean, if you're gonna buy a gun, especially, you could still buy one of those big, scary, black, fully semi-auto 50 caliber AR-15 that weigh as much as 10 boxes. So why the hell wouldn't you be able to buy a little puny yeet cannon? Oh, I have the soundbite. Why wouldn't I just play her talking about it?
I've held an AR-15 in my hand. I wish I had it. It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving. And the bullet that is utilized, a 50 caliber, these kinds of bullets, need to be licensed and do not need to be on the streets.
I mean, she's from Congress, so we have to trust her, right, boys and girls? So I think this is interesting. Yeah. So it's unconstitutional to ban firearms to individuals under 21 years of age, to include handguns at this point. So if you're a teenager, 18, 19, 20, and a responsible gun owner, go buy yourself a Glock. You'll thank me later. But shall not be infringed. 100%. Shall not be infringed. And they infringe the hell out of it and step on it every step of the way. So, but, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for me tonight. I thank you all for stopping by and joining us for News Roundup. I hope you learned some things. And yeah, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe. Please hit that like button. If you've been here before, hit that like. Make sure you're still subscribed because YouTube asshole. And then, yeah, tomorrow I am not streaming personally. I may or may not go over to Shinny's game night. I haven't decided yet. There's a good chance I do, but not 100%. Saturday is Apollo Relive, so we'll keep going through the Apollo 11 mission. We'll finish up on the landing portion of it, and then after that, we continue on the history of Detroit, Michigan. Right after that, so got a fun, exciting weekend coming up. Hope to see y'all there. 8:30 p.m. Eastern every night but Wednesday. But Wednesday anyway, still too, because if something happens. But have a good night, y'all, and I will catch y'all soon. Bye-bye.